Next on Newsmax Now, reality may bite for reality winner. Why the federal contractor admits to leaking classified information to media outlets and what or whom may have motivated her.
And I think on many things, Donald Trump is wrong.
And London's mayor tells President Trump that he should cancel his upcoming visit, while one of Trump's top advisors says Sadiq Khan's opinion may not matter. And today marks 73 years since Allied forces stormed the beaches of Normandy to liberate Western Europe from the Nazis. Why the lessons learned from D-Day still matter. All that and more as Newsmax Now starts right now. And welcome to this Tuesday edition of Newsmax Now. I'm your host, Miranda. Thanks for joining us. We've got a lot to talk about today, so let's go ahead and bring in our political panel. Joining me now from Newsmax Washington, we have Dr. Christopher Metzler. He's a conservative strategist and political consultant. And joining us via Skype, we have Larry Klayman. He's an attorney and former federal prosecutor. He's also the founder of Freedom Watch. Gentlemen, thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
All right, our big story today, police arrest and charge a 25-year-old Air Force vet turned federal contractor for allegedly leaking information to media organizations. What she reportedly leaked and the charges that she could face, and the latest information in that London Bridge terror attack. And why is London's mayor telling Trump to cancel his state visit planned for later this year? Also on the agenda, President Trump says the mainstream media wants him to stop tweeting. So are his tweets helping or hindering his own agenda? And James Comey's upcoming testimony will test Republican loyalty to the president. Will GOP lawmakers dump Trump before the 28 midterms? All right, let's get started. Our big story today, that 25-year-old federal contractor faces charges now for leaking a classified NSA document to a news outlet. Reality winner, yes, that is her real name, was arrested Saturday. She appeared in court yesterday. Winner is accused of leaking information at the same time the news outlet The Intercept published a top secret report on Russian attempts to hack the 2016 election. Now, the Justice Department did not say whether she was charged with leaking the document to The Intercept, but the DOJ does say the report that she released was dated May 5th. That's the same date as the report received by The Intercept. Now, Winner was one of 6 federal contractors of Pluribus International Corporation, who had printed out the documents, and the only one who had contacted a news organization by email. Now, according to the affidavit, Winner admitted that she intentionally identified and printed the classified report despite not having a need to know, and with knowledge that the intelligence reporting was classified. She received top secret clearance when she was hired back in February. Now, some have suggested that Winter wanted to get caught, since she admitted her actions, despite possibly facing a 10-year sentence if convicted. Larry, do you agree?
Well, I agree that she felt kind of forever.
Larry, I think we're having some audio issues. So while we try to work that out, I'm going to go to you, Christopher.
Yes, absolutely. And I am hoping she is just the beginning of the many leakers who will be exposed in this ongoing attempt to leak classified information or other information to the press. She had secret clearance, top secret clearance. She knew what she was doing in this particular case, and she leaks the information anyway. Suffer the consequences.
Many are asking how Reality Winner was able to even obtain a top secret clearance. You mentioned that when she made her political views very publicly known on the internet, she not only made it known that she supported Senator Bernie Sanders in the election, but based on her social media posts, she appears to be openly very much against President Trump, once posting he is a, quote, piece of you-know-what, over his decision to stop the Dakota Access Pipeline protest. Winners protests also include the Not My President hashtag. This is popular. We've seen this before online, along with calls to resist the president's environmental policies. Chris, was it irresponsible, as some are calling it, for the company to give her top secret clearance since she made her political views abundantly clear online, or should that even matter?
It does matter. I think, in fact, the company probably should also suffer consequences. Look, here are the facts. The facts are she made her views very, very clear. She didn't hide those views. She said all of the things that she said about the president, and yet she's put in a top secret position. What else would you expect the outcome to be? So I think she should be in the appropriate trouble as she is in. And I would even, if I were in that position, haul the company into this as well, because it seems to me that there was a certain degree of incompetence and negligence from the company's standpoint here. Not acceptable.
Larry, I hear that we have your audio restored, so I want to go to you. Do you agree with what Christopher had to say? Just want to make sure you were able to hear that too.
I do. I do agree with that. But here's the hypocrisy, and here's the real problem. Is the higher-ups at the National Security Agency, CIA, Director of National Intelligence, FBI, they're not being held accountable for their leaks. Their leaks are far more damaging than this leaks. And this is the culture of Washington that I fought against for all these years and continue to fight against, is that they burn the lower level people. They hold them out and burn them on the stake. But the higher level people, the people like James Comey, the people who's leaked, by the way, those memos that he allegedly wrote, which I think were written after the fact that say Trump pressured him, that's leaked information. That's a crime to take that out of the government without authorization. With regard to the other leaks about the president's conversations with the president of the Philippines and other things that have come up in recent weeks, the British leaks about intelligence over there, none of these higher-ups from the heads of these intelligence agencies are being held accountable. So they had to have a scalp. They got a scalp. But now it's time for the justice system to finally go against the big guys and the big gals who have been leaking, the Obama deep state that are still in control of these intelligence agencies that want to destroy Trump.
Well, speaking of leaks, filmmaker Michael Moore has launched this site for whistleblowers to leak information about President Trump's administration. You're seeing him right there. He's calling the site Trumpaleaks, like WikiLeaks, and he's calling on, quote, patriotic Americans in government, law enforcement, or the private sector with knowledge of crimes, breaches of public trust, and misconduct committed by Trump and his associates are needed to blow the whistle in the name of protecting the United States of America from tyranny, he says. Moore also says that Trump thinks that he's above the law, and by firing Sally Yates, Preet Bharara, and James Comey, that he's taking steps to make his lawlessness official. Meanwhile, WikiLeaks is now offering a $10,000 bounty for the Intercept reporter who outed alleged leaker Reality Winner. Now, first, let's go to you, Chris. What's your take on Moore's new Trumpaleaks site? Is it responsible to call on people to leak this kind of information?
Okay. I'll keep my personal opinions of Michael Moore out of this. I'll just offer dispassionate analysis. First of all, if he is calling on whistleblowers, guess what, Michael? There's a process for whistleblowers to follow if, in fact, they're whistleblowers. Let them follow that process. Who do you think you are to have them report to you what you see as lawless behavior on behalf of the president and all of that kind of stuff? We see a lot of lawless behavior on your part. Nobody's asking people to leak about that. So it's idiotic. It's Hollywood. It's elitist. It's all of those kinds of things. I don't even take that man seriously.
Could it be illegal, though, Larry?
Well, it's not illegal if he's a member of the media, okay? If he induces stolen information, which apparently this is, that may be legal and that may be a crime. If whistleblowers do that, people that don't listen to them on their own without coordination from the media, then it's not. But I want to give you an example because we just filed a lawsuit today. I mentioned it last week on your show, Miranda, for Dennis Montgomery, a whistleblower who tried to come forward for years. He left the NSA, CIA, Director of National Intelligence with over 600 million pages of information. I got him immunity. He came forward to James Comey. Comey has covered this investigation up, and we're doing it the right way. I filed a lawsuit in court. You can find it at freedomwatchusa.org just last night, very late last night, because we are bringing a case against Comey for obstruction of justice, the FBI and these intelligence agencies. So that's the way we're doing it legally, and we've always wanted Montgomery to go in front of appropriate authorities with security clearances so they could look at his classified information, which will show that President Trump was surveilled, that the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, other justices, 156 judges, yours truly, and others, have been subject to this illegal surveillance, which we now know was centered in large part at the FBI, thanks to breaking news in the last few weeks.
Christopher,
yeah, but
go ahead.
But what Larry's saying is the correct way of doing this. In this particular case, what occurred is the whistleblower went through the normal practices. That is very different from what Michael Moore is trying to do in this case. And so if you want to get information, do it the proper way instead of with the Hollywood fanfare nonsense.
Larry,
I would agree with what Christopher said.
Yeah. Yeah, going through those proper channels. We only have like a minute or so remaining. So, Larry, I just want to ask you, but WikiLeaks bounty, this $10,000 bounty, what are your thoughts?
Well, WikiLeaks has done good. It's done bad. They made a villain out of Julian Assange. I'm not so sure he's a villain. But if WikiLeaks is going to wade in, they should obey the law. They should respect the law. But I do believe with regard to Snowden years ago that they did a real service to this country because we wouldn't have known about all this illegal surveillance. And there comes a point in time, I do not condone lawbreaking. I'm not advocating it. But people reach a point where they take certain actions that they feel they have to do. Sure. But they also have to be prepared to take the consequences of it.
Christopher, last word to you.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I agree with that.
All right, Christopher, Larry, please stick around. We still have a lot more to discuss here on the show. We're going to talk about one of your cases, Larry, coming up here soon. But first, we want to hear from you at home. Do you think President Trump should stop tweeting, or do you like hearing his unfiltered opinion? Email us your thoughts now at newsmaxnow@newsmaxtv.com, or you can tweet us at newsmaxnow. You know, the president has been saying for quite some time that he's doing this to get his message out. He's saying the mainstream media doesn't want to hear it. Many of the people in his administration are defending him on this. But even some of Republicans are saying, maybe it needs to be filtered through a couple channels, maybe supporters, but some of his channels, so we don't have another covfefe moment. But let us know what you think. We'll air some of your comments a little bit later in the show. And welcome back to Newsmax Now. I'm your host, Miranda Kahn. And let's take a look, at some of the other big stories making headlines today. French officials say the man who tried to attack a police officer at the Notre Dame Cathedral earlier today shouted, quote, "This is for Syria," right before the attack. The man is accused of charging at police officers with a hammer. He was shot and wounded. An officer was also injured during the incident. President Trump takes credit after several countries have now severed diplomatic ties with Qatar. The Arab leaders have accused the country of funding extremism. Trump praised Saudi Arabia's king and the other 50 leaders he recently met for taking a hard line on countries who allegedly fund terror groups. Deputy Assistant to the President, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, commented on the situation with Qatar during an interview today with our very own Steve Malzberg.
We have a new geopolitical order. I mean, it's really stunning that one man with his new administration has rewritten the geostrategic map globally in just the last 18 weeks.
Burka says countries now must make a decision when it comes to what groups they support. And actor George Clooney and his wife Amal welcome twins Ella and Alexander today. They are the couple's first children together. Congrats to both of them. All right, now that you're all up to date and I can clear my throat there, we'll bring our political panel back in. Joining me now from Newsmax Washington, we have Dr. Christopher Metzler. He is a conservative strategist and political consultant. And joining us via Skype, we have Larry Klayman. He is an attorney and former federal prosecutor. He's also the founder of Freedom Watch. Thank you both for sticking around.
Thank you.
All right, so let's talk about the latest with the London Bridge terror attack. Police have now identified the third attacker as 22-year-old Yusuf Zagba. London officials also confirmed one of the attackers, Karam Butt, worked for the London subway system as a trainee customer services assistant. All of the suspected terrorists were shot dead by police within minutes. The attack sparked a Twitter fight between London's Mayor Sadiq Khan and President Trump after Khan told Londoners not to be alarmed by the increased police presence. Now, Trump tweeted the mayor's response was, quote, pathetic, and that the mainstream media was working with Khan to sell that story. But Trump took Khan's response out of context. The mayor meant Londoners should not be worried about the presence of extra police around the city. So today, Khan said Trump's trip to the UK later this year should be canceled.
One of the things about a special relationship is it's like having a best friend. You stand shoulder to shoulder with them in times of adversity, but you call them out when they're wrong.
So let's start with you, Larry. Do you think Trump should cancel his visit?
Absolutely not, Miranda. They do have First Amendment rights in England as well as the United States, maybe not as broad, but they can certainly respond to anything that President Trump would say. And look, there's an antipathy here. President Trump, when he was running for the presidency, Mayor Khan dissed him, said Americans shouldn't vote for him. He supported Hillary Clinton. This is where that comes from. And of course, Trump then is paying him back. And frankly, this whole dispute should be ignored in terms of whether Trump should come to England. He's the president of the United States, whether you like him or not. They have to respect him.
Christopher, let me ask you, because I know you spent some time in the UK, you work there. Do you think Trump's tweeting may be harming U.S. relations with that country?
No. I don't think so. I think all of this stuff about harming relations with the UK and Trump's tweets and all of that kind of stuff is nonsense made up by the mainstream media, in my view. There are a couple of things here. In terms of Trump being invited to the UK, he was invited by the Prime Minister, who is a member of the Conservative Party. And by the way, he was not invited by London, he was invited by the UK. And Mr. Khan is in fact a member of the Labour Party. And as was said earlier, this is an ongoing feud between the two of them. So all this stuff about the tweets and it's harming relations and all of that kind of stuff, nonsense.
Well, Assistant Deputy to the President, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, I think would agree with you. He says despite Khan's apparent dislike for President Trump, one mayor won't undermine the relationship between the U.S. and Great Britain.
There is a relationship that he has nothing to do with, which is the closest binding ties that we have between Washington and London.
So they're kind of making the same point that both you and Larry were making. Let's talk about Trump's so frequent Twitter battles, because they're sparking a larger conversation. I know we've talked about it a lot, but we're going to talk about it again, about the president's social media use. Continues to be a topic of discussion today. Trump tweeted that the fake media is trying to get him to quit using social media because they hate that he can get his, quote, honest and unfiltered message out. And another tweet, Trump zeroed in on several media outlets saying that if he had relied on their fake news, he would have had zero chance of winning the presidency. And just after the election, Trump told CBS that he planned to be restrained in his Twitter use when he became president. He says that he blames the media for his frequent tweeting, saying that that's the only way that he can counteract the media's negative message. Larry, what's your reaction? I mean, is it the media's fault that he's having to tweet so much?
Well, I think he likes to tweet, Miranda. So do most Americans in that regard. And we live in the 21st century. This is the way you communicate. Frankly, I look back at all of President Trump's tweets. He didn't always use precise language, but people knew what he meant, including Obama wiretapping him. I certainly know that. We talked about that earlier in the show. But you can't fault the guy for getting his message out. And I think there was only one tweet I can think of in the last many months that I think was ill-advised, and that was when he said the White House is a taping system, because now he's going to wind up getting a subpoena for everything that may be taped. But I like the guy. I like the fact that he talks from his heart, what he thinks about. We're in a different age. I love Ronald Reagan, but many years later, we're in a situation where every man is for himself, where we live in this vicious society, where the left is wanting to destroy his presidency, and he's got to go to the people, and this is the way he can do it, virtually on a minute-by-minute basis.
I thought you would have said covfefe, but sorry to lighten the mood a little bit. Christopher, I got you smiling a little bit. Chris Ruddy, the CEO of Newsmax, has said, agrees with you, Larry, and thinks that, he should tweet, but he also thinks that maybe there needs to be someone, maybe that needs to go through a few hands first to make sure that someone's checked this out. Chris, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, I don't think so. Look, if it goes through a few hands, it loses the message that he is trying to get out in the first place. And as to tweeting and the news media, so here's the thing. The mainstream news media has been saying that there's going to be a bombshell, that Comey is going to accuse Trump of obstruction of justice. If, in fact, the mainstream media went to just the facts, and if, in fact, the mainstream news media covered the president the way that they have covered other presidents, we would not probably have as many tweets, because what would then happen is you'd be able to talk directly to the people in an unfiltered way. And I agree with Larry, we're in a different era relative to communication and the way that we reach people directly. So get with the program, which is what the president is doing.
Larry,
I would actually
Go ahead,
Miranda,
Larry.
if I can add quickly. I would like to see the president do what they do in England. I don't agree with a lot of what goes on in England or in Europe, although I do love Europe. I study there. I'm an international lawyer, and I'm really sad to see what's going on there. But I think maybe the president should come before the House of Representatives, like the Prime Minister of England, in terms of the House of Commons, and answer questions directly. I think that's a thing that we should start. And to have press secretaries get out there and speak for the president, frankly, is absurd. They should end that practice. They get put on the spot. They don't know what to say. They have to lie their way out of everything, or they get cornered. And that's for every administration, Democrat or Republican. So I'd like the fact that the president is talking to the people. And maybe we can do something like the House of Commons and have the president appear in front of the House of Commons, and he can say, "My right honorable jerk." Right.
Well, the president may be listening to you right now. Larry, before we say goodbye, we only have like a minute remaining, but I want to talk about that lawsuit that you just filed with those violent protests in Berkeley. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
People can see it on our website at freedomwatchusa.org. Miranda, we've seen a lot of violence around the country. One of the first evidences of that was at Berkeley, where innocent people were attacked by atheist, leftist, anarchist demonstrators that hate Trump, financed by George Soros, basically an effort to destabilize the country. We represent a young gay woman, very fine woman by the name of Kiara Robles. She came to see Milo, the reporter. I always have difficulty pronouncing his last name, who is also gay, so she had an affinity there, and she likes his politics. She's pro-Trump, and she was beaten up. So we brought a case against the University of California system at Berkeley against the president of the University of California, Janet Napolitano, an Obama former Secretary of Homeland Security, and others, including the police force there, for allowing this to happen. We have to put an end to this violence. It's spreading. We saw it just last weekend in Portland, Oregon. We're going into a civil war, regrettably, and we've got to use the courts to try to prevent that.
Larry Klayman, Dr. Christopher Metzler, thank you both for joining us today. Always a pleasure to have you.
Take care.
Usually.
All right, you've heard from our panelists. Now we want to hear from you. We talked about tweeting. Do you think President Trump should stop tweeting? Email us your thoughts now at Newsmax Now at NewsmaxTV.com. Or tweet us, why not, at Newsmax Now. We'll air some of your comments shortly after the break. What do you think? Good idea? Should it go through a filter system? You know, what about Larry Klayman's idea? He said we don't even need a press secretary in this day and age. Do you agree with him? Have times changed? Is that old? Is that passé? Let us know.